Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida, live to be exact. And today's date is Friday, September 8th, 2017. And I could say this, it looks like Hurricane Irma has getting real close to a Category 5 hurricane. And the winds are at 155 miles an hour. Plus, there looks like they're saying it's going to go right down by the straight up from the Keys, right into the center of the state. Possibly the areas of Lake Okeechobee, Immokalee, Everglades City, Flamingo. Could be right at maybe the first area may get huge impact. And of the hurricane force winds, I know they say it's 70 miles wide from the center, so it hasn't really expanded. But the storm surge is going to be really, I would say, possibly ferocious along the coastlines on both the Atlantic and Gulf Coast. I've been watching this one video from BP Earthwatch, and the gentleman's good too. He always observes everything as well. And of course, HurricaneTrack.com, another good site to check it out. Instead of going through the fear and anxiety and sensationalism, which a lot of states are doing, and of course, a lot of folks many of them are being stuck because they were evacuating, and it took them one person took them 26 hours from Key West to Tampa. Another one took almost 11 hours to get out of Florida and to Atlanta, I'll say about another 8 hours. I'm not so sure, but it's really, a lot of folks are just wigging out, and it's not really that good. You have to remain calm, stay focused, because what happens if you get this negative reaction, it can affect your whole team, including your family. And this is why I'm very concerned as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not some hot shot that's going to be said, oh yeah, I'm untouchable. That's totally inapplicable. It's just a lot of folks probably haven't been to a major hurricane like this. And to be very sincere, it's probably, they said, the biggest hurricane probably recorded in the Atlantic Basin history. Okay, when it was 185 miles an hour. But now, like I said, it's still a high 4. Okay, it's still catastrophic. Even if the eye of the storm or the wall goes to Lake Okeechobee, that could be a storm surge in that area as well. Because we talked about it. Just remember, look up 1928 Lake Okeechobee hurricane. All right, just look it up, and you understand where I'm coming from. But yes, let's just check out the coordinates right now. It's from the 5 p.m. report from the National Hurricane Center. And as I says here, latitude 22.1 north, longitude 76.5 west, moving at 12 miles an hour, minimum pressure 925 millibars, and some maximum sustained winds is 155 miles an hour. And so if you look at the radar, Let me see if I can get it in here. That would be really nice. Let's see what I can get. Full forecast, track line. And according to the track line, it's mainly going to be going along the center of the storm. Maybe going along to the Keys and possibly getting close to Naples. There'll be some Southern Monroe County, Naples. Of course, Flamingo and all this area is going to get. Everglades going to be at stake for sure. That's one thing I was really concerned of. Shark Valley, etc. Oh yeah, so as I was looking at that, and of course it is storm surges and all that as well. Hurricane warnings from Jupiter Inlet all the way to Tampa. Goes all the way around to New Tampa, Bay Area. Wow, like I said, it's just unbelievable. And I am a little bit exhausted. I was helping my cousins out at Sunrise, gave them a few things. And so I'm just at the warehouse again. And hopefully my brothers and sisters in Fort Lauderdale, even if they're downtown, doesn't matter. Be safe. Don't play around. And make sure you're stocked. And any of those looters gonna go out there. If it's blowback in your faces, if you get shot or get taken care of, look in the mirror. Warn those looters again. Don't meddle with people's livelihood. I don't want to hear you don't understand. No, we're all in this together. I'll make that very clear once again. So, as it reads here, let me see where I get the radar. It's my first time actually using this, so. Okay, let's hit the public advisory here. And as it reads, same thing, 22.1 north, 76.5 west. It's about 195 miles or 306 kilometers east of the Caribbean, Cuba. And about 345 miles, 555 kilometers southeast of Miami, Florida. Maximum sustained winds, 55 miles an hour or 250 kilometers an hour. So they have the metric and standard system here, so I think it'd be fair to read it all across. Present move, west or 280 degrees at 12 miles an hour or 19 kilometers an hour. Minimum central pressure, 925 millibars or 27.32 inches. Like it says here, the hurricane warning has been extended for the east coast of Florida to Sebastian Inlet along the west coast of the peninsula, northern to Anna Maria Island. Of course, the hurricane watch has been extended northward along the west coast of Florida to Swanee River. Yeah, it's a Florida state song, Swanee River, historical area. Storm surge watch has been issued of north of Venice to Aunt Claude River, including Tampa Bay, and from Ponce Inlet to the Flagler-Volusia County line. So it goes all the way around to the east end. So nothing to play with. And it says here about summaries of watches and warnings in effect. The storm surge warnings in effect for Sebastian Inlet southward, the Florida Peninsula to Venice, and of course the Florida Keys. Storm surge watches in effect. Northern Sebastian Inlet to the Flagler-Volusia County line. That's near Daytona. And, of course, north to Venice to Aclona River to Tampa Bay. All right, hurricane warnings in effect. Sebastian Inlet southwards around Florida Peninsula to Anna Maria Island. Florida Keys, Lake of Okeechobee, Florida Bay, southeast of Bahamas, Cuban province of Comegui, Ciego de la Vella, Sancti Spiritus, and Villa Clara. Central Bahamas, northwestern Bahamas. Yes, even all those areas too, whether the Bahamians and the Cubans, they're still our brothers and sisters regardless. You hopefully to make sure they're hunkered down, they're safe as well. Screw the political differences. We're all part of the humanity. All right, just to make that very clear. And of course, tropical storm warnings and all that good stuff. It says here discussion at 40-hour outlook. This is important right here. at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The eye of Irma was located near latitude 22.1 north, longitude sitting for 6.5 west. I'm just going to go in here. And toward the northwest is expected by late Saturday night. So it's supposed to move into the northwest. Turn toward the northwest. So it'll be more of a diag. That's going to be interesting. So maybe going along the Gulf Coast. That's wow. Then something to take a look at. And it says here on the forecast, the eye of Irma should continue to move near the north coast of Cuba and the central Bahamas tonight and Saturday, and be near the Florida Keys and southern Florida Peninsula Sunday morning. Her maybe like early Sunday, possibly like 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Maximum sustained winds are near 155 miles an hour or 250 kilometers an hour with higher gusts. Irma is a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wild Wind Scale. Some fluctuations in intensity are likely to continue during the next day or two. Irma is expected to remain a powerful Category 4 hurricane as it approaches Florida. Hurricane force winds extend outward to 70 miles or 110 kilometers from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward to 185 miles. So this is a nice wide cyclone, tropical cyclone. So technically, some areas may not get the full effect of the hurricane or even just hurricane force winds. However, the tropical storm force winds and the surges is not going to help out either. And tornadoes can be spawned from this storm. All right, just to let you folks know. It's happened so many times. Of course, the estimated minimum central pressure is 925 millibars or 27.32 inches. And of course, talk about the storm surges here. It's dangerous surge. And of course, for Florida from Catiba to Cape Sable, 8 to 12 feet. Cape Sable to Boca Raton, including Florida Keys, 5 to 10 feet. So that whole area, if it comes, it will affect mainly the coastline on the beaches, and maybe go a little further in the possibly, they call it the intercoastal. It could affect that area as well. So it's going to be some impact. Okay, even rivers may go. I'm not so sure, but anything can happen. So it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be not a storm, tropical cyclone you cannot mess with. And of course, it says here, Oconee River to Venice, including Tampa Bay, 3 to 5 feet. Boca Raton to Flagler, Volusia County, 3 to 6 feet. So, like it says here, deepest waters will occur along immediate coast and areas on onshore winds, where the surge will accompanied by large and destructive waves. Surge-related floodings depends on the relative timing of the surge, and the tidal cycle can vary greatly over short distances. For information specific to the area, please see products issued by our local National Weather Service Forecast Office. And I want to add on here too, for the footnotes, is a site entitled hurricanes.gov. No, weather.gov, excuse me. Weather.gov. And that's from the National Weather Service. And even the folks in the South Florida area, or doesn't matter, you can type in your zip code, and you can really, they give you a lot more details in here as well. And like it says here, okay, it's going back to the other site, so I'm going to omit that. Beep. Okay, so I'm going to add that to the list as well. And of course, it says here, rate associated with Irma will begin to impact southern Florida over Friday and continue Saturday into Sunday. Irma will produce heavy rain and inland flooding. Up to 20 inches of rain may fall over the eastern Florida peninsula and Florida Upper Keys by Monday. Monday, Irma will also bring heavy rain to much of Georgia, South Carolina, and western North Carolina by Monday. So what they're saying, we may get some some flooding in the area. So folks in the flood zones, please, hopefully you guys are out of there. All right, because I know there's areas of Fort Lauderdale, a la Victoria Park, has flood issues. I remember one time it rained so heavily area of called Holiday Park looked like a complete lake, like a lake where some of the trees were like islands. Had to work that day. I used to be at the One More Auditorium, a city-run building, and I had to park my vehicle way, up to the entrance. That's the and because the back, and the other way, it was flooded, so I had to go to the front to get to work that day. So it's one thing, like I said, you gotta be ready, and folks, please stick together. All your pettiness and the world revolves around you isn't gonna be honored, all right? Especially around me. Just to make that clear, because I do recall the time when Hurricane Irene hit in 1999. I was living in the Kendall Green area of Florida, which is like North Kendall, like north of Kendall Lakes. Irene was around October 99. It rained so bad, my street was flooded, and the canal. I was looking for alligators because the canal overflowed. And of course, we had ducks and all that too swimming around. So it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but it was a real pain in the neck as well. However, you can't those areas, people. We just survived. We made it happen and worked together. So that's one of the areas I really want to focus on was the storm. And to all my brothers and sisters in the great state of Florida, please don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything on stupidity, because it can end your life and maybe someone else you care for. Wow. And we all know too about Jose. Jose is getting hammered pretty. Jose's pretty bad too. It was a category 4. It said the same thing about that. And okay, let me just go through around here. Let me see, forecast track line. I want to look at something here. Alright, it's the track line. Maybe going all the way to Tennessee that we know of. Wow. So it'll be a depression and maybe some rain right in that area, Atlanta and all that. But this is just really gonna be real intense, my friends. And all of us can make it. All right. Let people know South Florida doesn't play games. Yeah, we all have our disputes and issues. I like to smack some people upside the head. But now you got to toss those disagreements to the side and make this work. Another thing I would recommend to my friends out there, to all my beautiful brothers and sisters, not just in South Florida, but around the world who's listening, maybe the Lone Ranger here at the time, you should check on some of the websites, even on YouTube. They have one here under Power Thoughts Meditation. Good channel to check out. 500,000 subscribers. It has one 852 hertz. Let go of fear, overthinking, and worries. Cleanse destructive energy. Awaken intuition. And the Self-Ego 252 hertz is direct connected to the principle of light. And light is a higher form of bioenergy. This frequency can be used as means for opening for communication with your higher self and awakening your intuition and inner strength. This frequency can be used to cleanse trapped negative energy and dissolve fear, overthinking, and worries. So I'm definitely gonna add that to the memo, to my memo after the show is done. So I don't know if I'm gonna do all this at one time. However, just hit my speaker page. All right, and I'll do it on YouTube. Get those re-edited. Just you can get everything, boom, right on my Patreon as well. Wow. So let's just see what's going on with Jose. Looks like Jose, maybe it's a little ordeal with Jose. Like Jose is right here. Category 4. Maximum sustained winds 130 knots, 150 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 940 millibars. Located at 16.6 north, 58.3 west. Moving west-northwest at 17 miles an hour or 15 knots. And it looks like it may hit some of the islands, which Irma did. and that's going to be a real shame. And so, if you folks in that area, if you can collect rainwater, have some clean buckets, have it out there, at least you can have water to drink for a day or so. You won't dehydrate that much. And I know Katia, same thing over here. It's a category 2, and say maximum sustained winds 90 knots or 105 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 972, located 21.0 north, 96.5 west. Movement west-southwest at 6 knots or 7 miles per hour. So, wow. I know there's a big earthquake happened in Mexico, which is a real shame. A lot of stuff is happening. Many people say global climate change or all these entitlements. You know, I just see things too as solar flares, which is more scientific fact, in my view. It's by that most likely, and so don't follow the Al Gore's hype. All he wants to do is take your money and run. We'll probably buy more luxurious homes along the coast. Yes, that's how these vultures are. Yes, and I do remember him talking about global warming and his inconvenient truth at Meisner Park, and I was one of those hecklers outside of that area. And don't worry, my rhetoric was very family orientated, and I just had everyone laughing, including the Boca police. They were laughing at the stuff I was saying. But you know what? Hating them is too good. There's no fun in that. So I just get them with kindness and ridicule them in an entertaining manner. It is a lot more effective. Okay, so I'm going to add the hurricanes.gov, and of course I'm going to add the YouTube thing on there also. I'm going to do a few things on here, mostly about preparation and gouging once again. And another cool thing, interesting too, will happen, war on cash. So let's just start off here by U.S. carry. It says here 5 natural disasters, 5 tips to keeping it cool and concealed. That's for farms related, but it is some good merit on here as well. There's earthquakes in Idaho, wildfires to the Pacific Northwest, Hurricane Harvey, and now Hurricane Irma. If you're not on the edge of your seat already, you might want to check your pulse. Social media is full of pictures of people scraping over bottles of water, getting greedy, or just plain getting criminal. Natural disasters and emergencies can bring out the very worst in folk. That's why, as law-abiding gun owners and concealed carriers, it's our job to prevail no matter the conditions. 5. The best way to be calm is to be prepared. If you waited until the weather forecast says the storm is overheaded, you're going to be stressed out. You don't have enough water, food, or supply to take care of yourself and your family, and you know that's not going to work out. This is going to force you to deal with countless others as they pack into the local Walmarts, Home Depots, and supermarkets looking for supplies. These are the situations that are ripe for conflict. Everyone is stressed out and everyone has priorities. The best thing you could ever do for yourself is prepare for these disasters before they happen. Buy emergency supplies, food, water, duct tape, boards, tarps, etc. before the natural disaster occurs. It doesn't matter if those supplies sit for a long time. It's better to have them than have not. It's better to avoid conflict than be forced into situations where a conflict can occur. Absolutely. I have to agree with him on that. 2. Know when to walk away. There is 1 jug of water left on the shelf. The woman's in front of you nabs it and throws it on a stack of water jugs and food into a shopping cart and is happily trotting off to the cash register. She need 100 water jugs, and now and other customers that were looking at the exact same water jug. If you have a family, if you have a home, you need that water, and wanton acts of greed just exacerbate the frustration you're likely feeling as you watch something you positively need to survive is walking away. That's when it's time to walk away too. There's nothing that's going to come from you arguing with another person in the supermarket over a loaf of bread or a cart full of groceries. until we reach sub-Saharan levels of desperation and the rule of law no longer has any weight. The rule of law holds the aggressor accountable. To reach out and grab something from someone's cart is to invite a conflict. Push out further, try another place is not worth getting caught up with police and other civilians. Absolutely. So it's always, you got to always get things done. Even especially for water, what is good to have too is get like something like Berkey water, a good water filter system. And I know they used to sell like buckets, like these big barrels for like rainwater. And then they say like some states you can't do that. You know what? That's unconstitutional, illegal, null and void. It's natural law supersedes these bogus man's law. Just to give you guys some input. And so just some of those areas, it really just boggles the mind. But I was at this Publix down by the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I see a big line of shopping carts just for water alone. I'm like, wow. It's okay to get some of those good non-chemical made jugs, even made of hemp. I think they have hemp products for that too. And just go, there's some places that does filtered water. Just go there low key, just fill it up. Boom. It may take a little bit longer, but you know what? At least you'll be ready. Just to give you guys that don't go in there too much, but have a handful and just do a little finesse, all right? 3, don't leave your guns in the car during a natural disaster. If you carry a gun in your car, get it out. Even if the roads aren't flooded or there are no fires, there's a real risk of people looting abandoned vehicles. During a natural disaster, that gun needs to stay on you. That backup magazine sitting in the glove box needs to be on you. It's no good if it's located somewhere where you can't reach or within reach of some criminal. I remember one of my family members, I would say, left his gun in his trailer. I'm like, it's like happened 12 years ago. So you got your piece. Oh, I left it there. I'm like, why? Never, ever do that. Have it on you. Okay, my friends? Because you never know. And that's why. So any people want to loot on abandoned vehicles, think they're abandoned, and if they get chased out or get shot, or the private goes, hey, take off all your clothes and walk away and say, how's it feel getting ripped off? Because this is what I'm saying, my friends. Some of these looters, they love to shit out, but hate receiving. Like I said before, I don't want to hear your petty excuses. All right, if you have to evacuate, store safely. During a natural disaster, isn't the time you want to pick up a fireproof safe. If any firearm you intend to keep at your residence should have planned to store away that cannot be harmed by fire or water, those are the big ones. Guns can hold up decently to water for a short period of time, but fire can absolutely ruin them. In the event of an evacuation, it may not be practical to take all your guns. Focus on what you can reasonably carry on your person. This should include your daily concealed carry permit, pistol. Take whatever spare magazines you have for that pistol. Concealment is the wisest move for firearms during an evacuation. When everyone is on edge, you want to be invisible as possible. If you see a civilian carrying an RM-15 loaded down with magazines and rigged to the teeth, you'll notice him. Don't be noticed. If you evacuate your home, know it's possible that thieves and intruders could potentially break in. If they do, you don't want them to have access to your firearms. Number 1, fight as a last defense. If you're heading out of the way of a natural disaster or picking up pieces during the last thing you want is to be separated from your family when police arrive. If you fight to defend yourself, that may happen. During a state of emergency, gubernatorial powers take precedent. It's confusing and it's easy to get caught up in a whirlwind of dire circumstances and emotions. This isn't a time to get separated from your family because law enforcement needs to process you. It's your job to stick it to the end. Carrying concealed and keeping it low can help increase your chance of avoiding conflict. If you have to fight, fight to live. Interesting. It has some great points, and I have to relate to this completely. This is why my friends out there, you got to always think a lot broader. Never let passion or emotion supersede your logic. Art of War, Sun Tzu 101. That's how I observe. Pay attention. You got to think, my friends. And even respect your neighbors. Because then you can call a little community program of looking out for one another and all that. Remember, it's more of us than them. Don't let them rule you. And always be patient. All right. Next one here, my friends. It is from Foundation of Economic Education, the Fee Foundation. And this one is written by Stephen Horowitz. Hurricanes don't blow away economic law. As it reads, the debate over morality and efficiency of so-called price gouging during natural disasters and other emergencies provide a unique opportunity to explore some of the most fundamental ideas in economics. Understanding what those ideas is just important, not just for economics of emergencies, but how market economies operate in more normal times, why they are superior to the alternatives. The biggest advantage of market economies is the way in which they tie together how we decide who will get to purchase and consume goods with the way in which those goods are supplied. Market prices are not only a good way of determining who should get goods, they also work to encourage people to supply more or less of goods depending on how much demand those goods are. Absolutely. You gotta think logically, folks. Don't just try to take the whole confounded store over, because people out there need it as well. If it's not prices, then what? To see it is considered the various alternatives. They're allocating goods on the basis of people's willingness to pay the market price for them. Suppose we have a big pile of stuff on the floor in front of us. How might we determine, other than through selling them at a market price, who will get to acquire those goods? We could do first come, first serve. We could have some sort of lottery system by which random people acquire the right to take goods. We could distribute the goods by dividing them equally among the people present. We could also use some sort of merit system or distribution according to some concept of need. We could also do might makes right and let people fight it out to get stuff. All of these are least possible ways that we might determine who gets to consume what. We can also identify advantages and disadvantages to each one. Distribution by lottery or equality seems more fair in one sense than it does to take into account people's ability to make the market price. However, it's perhaps unfair in another sense in that it also does not take into account how important the want is that those goods will satisfy. If we were to allocate this cost this way, it might not take into account whether someone lives in a colder or warmer climate, or the difference in their typical body temperature, or how much they like or dislike being warm or cold. More urgent desires for the good have no way to be expressed and satisfied. The system based on merit and need run into all kinds of difficulty, both defining and demonstrating whether the most notions of merit need might be employed. A great deal of time and energy would have to be spent dealing with such debates, which accounts as a cost against whatever benefit we might identify in such systems. First come, first serve also leads to people's expending resources to get an early place in line. With market price allocation systems, those resources could be devoted to more value uses. Queue-based allocation systems also favor those with the lowest opportunity cost of their time. It's not clear why this is either more efficient or more fair than systems driven by a willingness to pay. Might makes right suffers from similar problems. It would favor some people over others for reasons that don't seem connected to any real social benefit. In addition, once one person picks up a baseball bat to get his share of stuff, everyone else has an incentive to get either a bat of their own or something bigger and more damaging to ensure they get some stuff. Not only does this involve all kinds of socially wasteful expenditures, it will likely continue to escalate and it will waste a lot of human capital as well. Astute readers might notice how this example is a very nice parallel to the way special interest groups and other lobby government to get legislation passed to them or harm their competition. This activity, what economists call rent-seeking, demonstrates that allocation through the political process is more suitable version. Might makes right. Yep. So each of these alternative non-price distribution systems has some advantages and some disadvantages. Even if we think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages I've listed above, and that seems unlikely, each and every one of these non-price systems has one huge disadvantage that we have not discussed. None of them provide any information or incentives with respect to the supplying the good. Yeah, that's just, damn you do, damn you don't. But the truth of the matter, my friends, you always have to see things, a lot more broader. That's why you gotta, this is how you look at it. There's a versus supply and demand. And of course, you got people like Pam Bondi. Oh, I'm going to put an end on price gouging. Yeah, well, how come you don't take care of the Federal Reserve and the Fed and repeal the 16th Amendment? Attorney General Bondi. I want to blast the federal government. Shut up. Absolutely. I'm going to proceed on here. A problem of production, not just distribution. Notice that I started my example with a pile of stuff on the floor. By assumption, the supply of stuff just appeared, and the challenge was to figure out who was going to get it. But in the real world, that's not the problem we face. Stuff just doesn't appear by magic. It needs to be supplied by human actors engaging in production plans. All of those non-price allocation processes will eventually use up the existing supplies of goods without incorporating any way to inform and incentivize people to then supply more of the goods. They work as allocation mechanisms only if we ignore the question of how to get more of the goods. By contrast, compare this to how allocation by market price and willingness to pay works. First, the price enables people to make informed decisions about whether they wish to satisfy is urgent enough to justify using scarce resources to do so. When the price of goods go up, we have to consider carefully whether our desired use of the goods is worth it or not. This feature of market prices helps to ensure that goods get allocated to their most valued uses. Second, changes in prices communicate to actual and potential sellers how valuable the goods is. If people begin to value something more intensely and bid up the price, not only does that mean that everyone else has to reconsider their use of the goods, it informs and incentivizes people to produce more of the goods. More generally, the existence of a market price, regardless of how it might be changing, provides the information and incentives to produce. Again, not one of the alternative allocation systems even concerned itself with the question of the supply. They all implicitly assume that stuff just appears. Bing! The magic lamp theory, right? None of them has any way of assuring that once the current supply is exhausted, there will more be available. Happens all the time. Emergency economics. We can now see how these fundamental ideas apply in the context of emergencies and so-called price gouging. In the recovery from a natural disaster, things like gas and water are in greater demand than usual. They may also face constraints of their supply. This drives up the market price to levels well above what is typical. Consumers and others frequently call this exploitive, and most states have laws against raising prices excessively high during such situations. Can we say mercantilism at its finest? Or neo-mercantilism? One of the effects of the higher prices is to force consumers to consider carefully their use of the resource. If bottled water prices skyrocket, people will be far less likely to use bottles to give their pets a bath and more likely to use them for more urgent wants. Rising prices lead to better prioritizing of use, which is exactly what we want when resources have become more scarce. Enforcing anti-gouging laws eliminates the necessity to engage in this crucial prioritization process. So if things like, hey, food prices go up because of food shortage, it happens. There's no such thing as price gouging because they got to make up the expenses and the profits. It does happen. If such laws are enforced, it will cause prices to be unable to communicate the value of the good in question, forcing sellers to make use of one of the non-price allocation processes, most often first come, first serve. But sometimes we see lotteries or attempts at equality through limits on how much people can buy, and we do sometimes see violence. In all these cases, it doesn't make the good cheaper. Rather, it just shifts the cost away from paying money to all of the other things we discussed above, e.g., waiting in line, getting beat up, not getting goods you really desire, etc. The problems with the laws that try to prevent monetary prices from rising is that they short-circuit the process by which more supplies of the good will be made available. Rising short prices work like a signal flare to alert existing and potential suppliers. That is their money to be made by selling in that market. This encourages them to provide more of the good, which drives the price back down to more typical levels over time. The rising water prices make it worthwhile for people far away to bring water to the recovery effort in Texas and make people think twice about how they will use that water. If prices are capped by law, much less water will be supplied and the existing supply will be used less wisely. The laws of economics are not suspended in an emergency, no matter what the laws of politicians attempt to do. When goods are more scarce, they will be costly to obtain, whether those costs in terms of money or something else. The importance of letting market prices do their job in determining who gets what is that this process is also the way in which we make sure that there is stuff to be allocated in the first place. The only way to make sure we have a sufficient production is to let market prices determine consumption. And he's right. So you cannot, make any complaints about that. It's just how it is. All right. Even when you got food shortages, like sometimes you have like some farmlands of corn get burnt to the ground. That particular person, or company, will have to rise it a little bit. It's like shoplifting. People shoplift, steal stuff. They have to raise the prices to make up the profits. This is how it is. There's nothing gouging about it. Supply and demand. I remember one time some people complained about a certain comic book went up, and they go, it's price gouging. No, it's not. It's supply and demand. This is how it is. This is what Adam Smith, the father of capitalism, wrote about. It has nothing to do with corporations. Don't even go there, with all due respect. I always tell folks, even something like this, always prepare yourselves to the best of your ability. I make my mistakes too. All right, it's things I forget. It happens because it has too many concerns. I know people out there that have their families, their fathers, their mothers, and their kids want this and that. Sometimes some of them you have to old enough to have to give them the truth. But the whole thing is, my friends, just if you see it, people shouldn't buy it, and you know what? Then they'll go down the price. Who cares? Don't complain. Don't complain. The government on this is totally asinine because they don't really care about you. It's, oh yeah, these people can't take care of themselves, so we'll just do it. We'll do it for them. So, all right. So, got one more thing here. This came out yesterday. Washington Activist Post, and it's entitled "War on Cash Backfires on India's Economy, Cashless Agenda," or Clint Sengner is in India. About India, it says here, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a surprise attack on cash in late 2016. He gave Indians a few days to convert to the largest denomination bills and circulate to bank deposits, after which point any undeposited notes would become worthless. The move was intensely controversial. Transactions completed using cash represent the vast majority of economic activity in the country. In order to sell the program, Modi employed a familiar strategy. He vowed the user of cash as text cheats and criminals. Let's give him a good punch in the mouth, okay? He promised the measure would punish black marketeers, boost the Indian economy, and increase tax revenues. The latter may be true. Forcing transactions onto the grid is good for nosy bureaucrats trying to impose taxes and control. 1984. All right. But now appears Modi's claims about the amount of criminal activity tied to cash and promises of economic growth were nonsense. The official argument was that cash is an indispensable tool for black marketeers. The reform would catch many of these criminals with piles of cash they would be unwilling to declare and deposit. That argument fell apart last week when the Indian Central Bank reported that 99% of the outlawed bills were converted to deposits. Turns out very few criminals were punished. Meanwhile, the Indian economy is paying the price. Growth has slowed significantly, and some estimate many as 5 million jobs have been destroyed by the demonetization of cash. More and more Indians are angry. They didn't enjoy the upside promised by Modi. Instead, they suffered massive economic disruption and loss of privacy. Perhaps India's experience will provide an object lesson elsewhere in the world where bankers and political elites are waging a similar war on cash. Clint Sengner is a director of Money Metals Exchange. Man, you got these goofballs, man. You got all these idiots think they're smarter than everybody else. Come on. Well, I'm with the government. Oh, my daddy, I've been a lawyer. Yeah, who the hell cares? Modi, he's such a knucklehead anyway. But hey, it's called blowback, my friends. And that's why I recommend everyone, even my brothers and sisters in India, invest in gold and silver. Hell with this guy. He's nothing. There's more of you than him and his lackeys. Remember that. I'm glad the whole thing with the little dispute with China around the Bhutan area has been simmered right now. Try to keep it that way, all right? We don't need a war in that region because it would be very ugly for everyone. But, hey, keep the cash thing going, my friends. And you know what? I will give Modi the boot. Read your India's constitution and start ridiculing them, okay? That'll be your best bet. All right, my friends, that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you send me something that's interesting that you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, futurenet.club or patreon.com/Loki Luck. Three eyes in the end. And if you want to donate money, be my sponsor, that'd be nice. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com, or for your encrypted ones, LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. And I may decide to do one more show before Irma, so I'll try to make that happen. But for my folks out there around the world, be safe. All right, it includes my brothers and sisters in South Florida and all that as well. Natural disasters aren't that cozy. All right. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.